So Ryan,
Logan.
are you always late for podcast sessions, meetings?
I'm just late in general now.
No, just kidding. We were gonna try to. Have you seen Between Two Ferns?
Yes.
We were gonna
Oh my
try-
God.
I was like, I don't think I can keep a straight face.
Oh, I would have
Like,
loved that.
But we are gonna start like doing some.
Oh,
So
that would be epic.
we're gonna we thought we'd get one more fake plant and just call it Between Two Fake Plants.
I love that.
And
Though.
just have,
I
like-
love that concept.
Yeah,
in
I'm
Between
like,
Two
when we
Ferns.
have, because Dane looked it up, or we started watching them the other day, and I was like, we need to do this. It would be like it'd be really fun. I know, what was it? I was like, so
It's not Zach Efron. Got Zach
Galifianakis, yeah.
Galifianakis. Yeah. He hasn't been anything lately.
I mean, I don't even watch movies hardly anymore, so I don't even know.
Yeah.
My movie and TV life is like over with a child now. So
I believe it.
yeah. Were you always a Sony user, or did you switch?
The first camera I ever had was a Canon Mark II, actually, and that's whenever I started doing like sports photography. Whenever I was 14, and so like that was like a Canon company, and so then they had like Canon glass, and I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna get a Canon. But then I remember whenever I was like still working at Amazon, and I was like, oh, I was still finding my way. Like I didn't know the like what I was gonna do. I just knew I wanted to go travel, and I was like, oh, best cameras for traveling, you know.
Yeah.
And it was like the Sony A7 III, because that was just photo too, and that's all I had really been
Hold on,
accustomed.
so what year was it when you started again? I
I
forget.
started Media Pouch officially in 2018.
But when did you sort of like start realizing like this is what I want to do, kind of the direction, or when you bought your first camera?
Yeah, it was, damn, that had to have been like 2017.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then you were.
but I had that Canon, who knows how long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the one.
Yep.
And then when you switched to Sony, what did you get first?
The A7 III.
Oh, okay.
It was like the Sony A7 III, and then this, it was like the Sigma 14 to 24.
Yep.
And it was so heavy, dude. And I was just like, I was like trying to like balance it on like the Ronin and stuff. And I'm like, this is just,
Well, and the 14 to 24 didn't it have the rounded lens too? Could you not?
Yeah.
You couldn't even do a filter on it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was great for photos, and that's
Right.
exactly what I started out with. But then as I got into more video, I was like, this is not
Not
a
gonna
realistic
work.
lens
Yeah.
at all.
Remind me again, where were you living in 2017?
At that point, I was actually down in San Antonio, because like
Okay.
I had gotten, like, Amazon moved me down to Austin, but then I got promoted a few times, and then one of those promotions was going down to like San Antonio to base out of there.
What were you doing with Amazon?
I started off in operations, and then I was in finance. So
Oh,
basically in finance, I got into this program called Trailblazers, and they take like the top, like I think it was like 20 or 30 like operations managers in the entire like world for Amazon, and then they go into their, like, you go into this Trailblazer program, and then you're basically in charge of like the financial health of like that building that they put you at, but then you could also then have teams. And so like my base was one location down there in San Antonio, and then the way it worked though, like I was kind of managing 5 to 6 other ones too, but my project was worldwide. So like I had so many stakeholders, like 200 plus stakeholders on this project, and like annually, like that project was gonna save them like, or totally it was gonna save them like $200 million across like the next 10 years, which is still ongoing.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
So
You're
when
welcome,
did you
Bezos.
realize Amazon was going to suck the soul out of your life and you wanted to?
Pretty early on. Pretty early
Yeah.
on, I knew that, because I was like, I had like just graduated college, and I got put on night shift, and not only night shift, but then it was back half night. So it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights.
Oh my
Like, yeah. So like I had no life for basically like 2 years, like
Yeah.
while I worked there on that shift, because I never got off of it until I got promoted. And
And that promotion is what took you to San Antonio,
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yep. Because I was just like, I've got to get off fucking nights, and like I just want a life.
Yeah.
But then even that, I was like, oh, I'll have like corporate hours, and I'll have like my own office and desk, and I'll be traveling a lot, and it was still just like, I just like automated myself out of a job because I was really good with macros and stuff in Excel, and I was like just pushing buttons, and I was playing like ping pong 5 hours a day.
Oh my god.
It got boring really fast.
Yeah. So then what was the switch in San Antonio to get going on like Media Pouch essentially?
Yeah. So I went on this trip over to Croatia. Well, it was kind of like it started off as like a Euro trip, and it was just going to be like me and the boys. And yeah. So I'm
sorry, I think of Euro trip.
Yeah. It's every bit of wild.
Yeah.
And you want the long story or a short story?
Whatever you want to share.
Okay. I want to
I always like the long story because the long story has the juicy stuff.
there's some juicy stuff.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So we were gonna start, like, we needed to get down to Split, Croatia for the yacht week, and that's what we were gonna go do for a week. And so like I flew over to Moscow first because that was like the cheapest flight, and then hung out there for a day, and that was every bit of hard because it like there's no English.
Yeah.
And I'm like, literally I had to download Google Translate, and I'm just like walking around the airport and City just like holding up Google Translate everywhere just to like see where the fuck I'm going.
And it's like the hardest words over there. It
is. There's nothing like even remotely close to English.
No. You can't even kind of like figure it out over there.
No.
Yeah.
And then from there I flew into Prague in Czech Republic. So we started there. That was wild. And then from there we just drove down.
Hold on, don't gloss over Prague. How long were you there for? Because my
were
wife
there
and I spent like a week there.
We were there
5
for
days.
2 days.
Okay.
2 or 3 days. Yeah.
Did you experience Prague?
We did, because our one buddy Pavel, he grew up there. So
okay.
That's
so
why
okay.
That's why we were starting there.
Right.
The goulash.
Yes. The goulash and the absinthe apparently there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing there.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah. Yep, and we did that at every city along the way too.
Yeah. Casey and I went to. Did you guys go to the Hemingway bar? It's like a really big thing there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we did
blacked
it right.
out there. I don't know what happened after that.
It was forget. No, it wasn't there. Prague was good, but like I definitely felt like Americans were not welcome there though. Like,
what year was that?
That was like It was 2018.
Oh wow.
It was like weird.
I guess that's also 2 years into Trump.
Yeah.
Like I bet it was because I felt like, I don't know, maybe me and my wife were lucky too. Like we don't look American, so then we can get away with a little bit more maybe.
It was probably.
Yeah.
To be completely fair, it was. I don't know. It wasn't. It felt off there.
Yeah.
But that was the only city in Europe.
It's also a little gothic.
Yeah,
there.
it is.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But then we made our way down to Budapest, and then we did like so basically like this transition time to just identify what was happening and how this tied in. I'd bought a drone like 3 weeks prior to that, and it was like the first DJI Mavic, and I was like, oh, I need a drone for this shit. Like this is gonna be nuts, like this. So I had like my A7 III and my drone, and I was just planning on getting content of all of it and just having that different perspective. But yeah, like Budapest was fun. We went to like all the spas or not spas, but the bathhouses there.
Yeah.
And then there was one night where we all went out.
Were they nude bathhouses?
I didn't go to the nude ones, no. But they were there.
Yeah.
I don't know why we didn't, but
it's the trade-off though at a nude bathhouse. Like of course you see beautiful women, but then you got to see a bunch of dicks.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. We didn't go to that one. But like we went out the one night. We were there 2 days, 2 nights. And the one night we went out, our one buddy like got like essentially just jumped. Like got the shit beat out of him because he was like trying to break up this fight between 2 girls on the street. Like I didn't go out that night. I was just tired.
Mm-hmm.
And so like he had it's not funny, but I don't know, but what's funny is that like he found a dentist open at 3 a.m. and literally got his like fucking lip sewn back together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so he had to deal with that the rest of the trip. And then we made our way down to like, I don't know, the other countries weren't that memorable, I guess. But we made our way down to Split. And then, yeah, like as soon as you get to Split, you're just like, holy shit. Like you're like driving through the mountains and it just opens up to like the bay there and just nuts. And so then we got on the yacht. And then that night there was a just like probably the most beautiful sunset. Like it's definitely a top 5 because it had like pink, purple, orange, all the colors in it. And I just put the drone up and took a video of it. And then
were you filming in S-Log or Cine at that time yet?
I don't think so. Yeah, I didn't know what the fuck.
I remember those days with the first Mavic, like not knowing
it definitely was not D-Log.
Yeah, D-Log. There you go.
I even still go back to that footage and use it from time to time because it's so good. But I'm just like, fuck, I wish I'd shot in D-Log, you know.
Yeah,
but then I just like made a little video edit on the DJI app.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I let it do its thing. It's like with that crazy music and shit, and then I just like posted on Instagram, and I just tagged Yacht Week in it, and then the marketing director, like, I guess texted their group and was like, hey, whose boat is this person on? Figured that out, came over, and she was like, hey, like, are you interested in filming for us this week? Like our guy didn't come. And I was like, well, yeah, okay. You know, I was like, like part of me was about to say like, I'm not qualified, but then I was like, fuck it. Like I'll do it, you know? And she gave me like a brand new GoPro Hero, whatever. And she was like, just use this, create the content, then just use your drone and, you know, like we'll get you guys into the parties and all that good stuff. I'm like, cool, deal. And it was the best week of my life, just getting to actually experience like content creating and filmmaking, like at literally like the pinnacle of it. Like you're on a yacht, you're island hopping, you're going to these crazy parties. Like it's just nuts.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started. And you know,
so you didn't even go into like Yacht Week thinking like,
No.
oh, I'm gonna create content for this. You were just like,
no.
Oh, I'll have a drone. It's gonna be cool for whatever.
Yep.
You know.
I was like, I'll get some sick drone shots of like wherever we go. And like,
were you, even when you bought the drone, were you thinking more, since you said you were more into photography to start?
Yep.
So were you thinking more photography stuff, or did that sort of catapult you more into?
I think that's what catapulted me into video, was just because I was so fascinated with drones. Because like I always thought it would be so cool to be like a pilot and just fly planes. And I always like back in the day they had those flight simulators in the airports. I remember being like such a young kid and like just asking my parents for like cash or coins to play those games while we were waiting. And I've always been obsessed with it, even like the PlayStation games and stuff.
Oh, I was the same way. I mean, I remember our very first computer, we had like it was like a Star Wars flight simulator.
Yeah.
Basically. I was like playing that like all the time.
It's just fun. I love flying. But sad story on the GoPro from that week. I created all this content for them and then I lost it.
Oh shit. I was going to ask you how long did it take to maybe lose the drone, but
the drone was fine.
The drone made it through.
The drone was epic. We had enough cell phone footage to like get by, but I ended up like having to pay for the GoPro.
No.
I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So like you know, this would have been nice to know up front. If I lost this thing, I was gonna have to pay for it, but thought I was doing you a favor, but I guess not.
What was the wildest club or boat or just place you got into during Yacht Week?
It was a catamaran. Those are really sick. I like those. And then the Riviera Chic party was like this all white party, and that was just like, that was the night the GoPro got lost, and that was just wild. Like the whole entire, I can't say that any one thing, like the Riviera Chic party was definitely the best one, but I was pretty like, you know, just hanging five out there having fun. So we'll summarize it at that.
Let's see. You're at Yacht Week. This is in Europe, correct? You're still in Europe.
Yep.
you get handed a GoPro to potentially now start this like new career. You're 24, 3,
23 or 24, yeah.
23 or 24.
Yep.
So tell me about all the drugs over there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you wanted to go there or not because so basically Pavel, well, actually not Pavel. We'll edit this in post.
Yeah.
Our buddy, like, he had some connections over there in Prague, and so like we loaded up like 10 shampoo bottles full of like Molly and cocaine.
10 shampoo bottles? Whoa. Okay, you guys went for it. How many people were with you?
There was 4 of us guys, and there was 3 girls. You know, we just put like all the Molly and cocaine in shampoo bottles. I don't know. Not my thing. But
Hold
yeah.
on. So where did they come from? That
Prague.
you took? Oh, Prague. Okay. How was
So-
it? Good stuff in Prague, I bet.
Yeah, it was really
Good,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, really good.
It's clean over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And getting down there though was quite interesting because when we passed from Czech Republic into Hungary,
Uh-huh.
there was border patrol. Oh yeah, it happened. And yep.
Oh.
So we passed over and we went through just fine. But like at the time I was also like vaping, and so like I'd like hit the vape and then like smoke blew out the window.
Mm.
As soon as that happened, border patrol came right after us because, and I mean, I know this now, like why that's the reason that they pulled us over. But when they pulled us over, we had no clue what the fuck was happening because we were like, we just went through here. Like,
Yeah.
like why are you pulling us over
Yeah.
now? And they're like speaking whatever language it is, right? And Pavel speaks 7 languages, so he can obviously understand them. And like we're all just trying to play it cool, and we're like, dude, what is going on? Like, what are they doing? And then you just see them like go to the back of the trunk, and then like they're lifting it up, and like they're speaking like it's just like your worst nightmare movie. You're just like, I can't understand them. I don't know what they're saying. Like we're in the car.
How fast is your heart rate going?
So fast because I've watched those like
Taken or whatever.
no
movie,
like
or
not
just
even
like,
that like
just-
the world's worst jails
Yeah,
like that guy just goes in. I don't know, I'm like picturing like I'm like, god damn it, I'm gonna go into the world's worst European jail
and they're not gonna let me out.
nope.
Yeah.
And so then they're like going through the suitcases, and I'm just like, oh my god, like this is it. I'm like, we're not even gonna make it to Yacht Week, but we're all going to jail.
Yeah.
And they even had the dog too.
Wow.
Yep. Dog did not smell it in there. And thank God our buddy he knew what he was doing with it and how to pack it. So
yeah. I guess
but-
if it's in shampoo, because liquid was still in there or whatever, right?
yeah.
I'm assuming.
So it smothered it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever shared that story before, but
Yeah.
it makes.
Well, thanks for sharing it with me. Yeah.
It
That's a good one.
makes for.
I feel like, everybody. I had a Canadian border one, a really stupid one, not nearly as probably nerve wracking as yours.
I mean, there was a lot of drugs, like
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah. I've flown with drugs, but I don't know. I guess I just never got too worried before back in the day.
I brought back like edibles from Denver a few months ago, and that even just made my heart rate beat. I'm just like, oh god. Like, I
Even
can't-
though it's like kind of legal. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
know.
It's not even that. They'd probably just make you throw them away.
and there's just
Yeah.
like a million signs like dump it out, and I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
god,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Oh,
well.
yeah,
Okay. Is that how the GoPro was lost then? All
yeah,
the shit.
yep, yep,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's also where the idea came from, Media Pouch, and that's kind of like I don't think I've ever shared this before because I was always worried about like perception of it, but the reality of it is that like I was basically taking Molly every day for 5-6 days over there and doing the filming and content creating over there. By the end of the week, like it was just this huge like wake up call to me that like I just got so much like gratification and fulfillment, and just I like was living this life that I had been like just kind of like trying to figure out like where I was going with all this, because I'm so like I was pretty depressed from not depressed, but like working at Amazon was not the thing. And I knew that like corporate was just not going to be a thing. And I knew that probably just working for someone else wasn't going to be my thing, because I just I don't like taking direction from other people. Like I don't like being managed. I want to do my own thing. And it's not like I know what's best. It's more so like I've got this vision of like what I want my life to be like. And I know that working for somebody else is not going to get me there. Mm-hmm. Like I would have to be at some CEO level, but you're not going to be a CEO like 22 to 25 years old, to be honest. Yeah. And well, for somebody else's company. And so like, that's why that week was so special to me and stuff like that, because I had finally found that thing that was like, I'd been searching for like the last 3 years, where I was just like, what is it? Expectation versus reality. And it's like, my expectations were up here and my reality was here. And it was causing this like uneasiness, like inside of me. Cause I'm just like, I don't know why I'm not happy. Like I'm making all this money. I'm traveling. I'm working at one of the best companies in the entire world. Like I'm doing these great things. Like it's just not aligned with what everybody was telling me this is. Like not what my parents told me that is. Like go to college, get a degree, like get a job, make a lot of money. And like it just wasn't doing it. And when I saw that I could like literally just be over in Europe, like on a yacht, like flying a drone and just meeting some of the best people of like all time. Like I left that week realizing like, this is what I want to do. Like this is 100% where things are going. Like, cause like Instagram was like popping off, like with photos and stuff like that. Video wasn't really a big thing, but it was getting there. Right. And I was like, I want to do this, but just like all the time, all around the world. Like I want to do like racing stuff with Formula One or like Lamborghini, Ferrari. Like I want to do travel stuff, adventure stuff with like Yacht Week. I want to do like these multi-million-dollar homes. Like I want to do like just all these crazy experiences, but I want to be paid to like go and do those things. Like I want to find a skill set to do it. And like I latched onto it over there. And yeah, I think Molly just really helped me understand that too. And it kind of like got me outside of like my insecurities and really opened up like my vision to like what it was. So,
well, I think it probably got you out of your mind about it. Yeah. Like you just were able to tap into your intuition more of what it felt like. Yep. And then what it was going to need to be moving forward. Yeah. Speaking of moving forward, how was it then going from, that's a pretty high. Yeah. Over there. Yep. To then coming back, you're still at Amazon, correct? Still at Amazon. So how was it like making that shift? Yep. Going from like, okay, I realize this is what I want to do. Yep. And this is where my heart is. Yep. So how do I, if manifestation is idea, thought, plan, action, you had the idea and the thought. Exactly. Where was the plan to go from Amazon to now Media Pouch? Yep. I basically just came back from that trip and just got to work. I was just like, this is what I want to do. And Media Pouch then wasn't formed until January 2018, because I was up on a business trip in Seattle with Amazon, and I'd met with like a coworker's dad up there, and he had built like, he's a massive custom home builder. He built Bill Gates' house and stuff. And up until that point, like I was just like getting the basics done, like of like learning video editing and stuff. Like I'd bought Full-Time Filmmaker, and it was just like a lot of groundwork of like strategy, I guess, like more so like what is it like that we're gonna do specifically. Like did you have any experience in like editing, or like growing up as a kid, were you into like, I mean, like Lightroom, okay. from STL Digital, where I was a photographer at. Okay. But it was only just photo stuff, which was a pretty steep learning curve, like not knowing anything. And then just like, but that's why I bought Full-Time Filmmaker, was because like that was the only thing that I saw out there that was really going to teach me what I needed to learn. And I just went about it that way, and like learning how to edit it. And I used a lot of that Yacht Week drone footage to edit everything. That took care of like video editing and shooting and stuff. But
more so the business side, you know, is like just getting the website created and like the logo, and then more so like trying to just figure out like what it is that I'm gonna do with this thing. Like, how am I gonna go about this? And the nice thing with Amazon though was that I was in this like cushy 9 to 5 position, which, you know, like I had weekends available, and then I had like a lot of spare time just at night, and like that's a lot of where it just came from, was just editing.
Less ping pong.
Yeah.
More.
Well, I think, yeah, a little less ping pong, but in the sense I was just dipping out early to go just work on things and stuff. But it was, I had a hard deadline, and I knew what that deadline was because it was going to be my 3rd year anniversary at Amazon. And that's when I got like a good amount of stock vesting at that point. And so I was like, I'm not out before it. I'm not out after it. And so it was really nice to just not have a deadline on things and have this like security net of just like money coming in, being able to save money. Like I knew I was going to get this influx of stock, and like that was really a big thing too. Like, what am I going to do with this amount of money? Like, how am I going to allocate it towards like paying off student debt, but then also like paving the way for Media Pouch, and like how am I going to live like starting a company? And I think that was the biggest thing I was trying to wrap my head around, was like,
did you have any good like mentorship through that, or did you kind of figure it out on your own? Or
at that point I would say like I really didn't get into like having mentors and coaches until like the last year and a half or so, because I personally like figuring things out on my own, because there's a massive learning lesson that comes from it. Like for me anyways, where it's like, because I have to go out there and solve this problem and do it all by myself, like I'm never going to forget it. Versus like if I had somebody help me along the way, then maybe I wouldn't have treated it as like as big of a priority. Yeah. So just doing all those things on my own, getting
I'm
it
the
off
same way. I like to like figure it out on my own, even if it takes me a little longer. Like,
the same. Yeah. I still do it. Yeah. Like I know I should be delegating more shit now, especially, but it's like I do it more so that I can internally store it, and then I can teach someone how to do it later.
You didn't go with your name. You went with Media Pouch.
Yeah.
Is that because your name's impossible to pronounce?
Gallego. No, I think, even in the full-time filmmaker course, Parker talked about that, where, you know, he's like, do you want to attach your name to it, or do you want to like build a brand? And my thing was like, I want this to be bigger than me. Like I want to one day, like, you know, maybe sell this thing, or like I just personally don't want to be attached to it, because I kept on thinking about like, well, how weird would that be if I had like 10 employees and they're like, yeah, I work at Ryan Gallego. I'm like, it just doesn't sound right. Like I'm not a law firm. I'm not a like doctor or anything, you know? So I just wanted something that was going to be like a brand. And then I started thinking like, okay, well, I don't want to just do photo, and I don't want to just do video. Like maybe like VR or AR starts coming into play, and maybe there's animation. Like how do I just be all encompassing? So I was like, media's got to be in the name, because that's what people would, you know, I did some SEO research, and I was like, but like media what? And then I was thinking about like logo ideas, and I'm like, well, like I always told myself I was going to have a company and a kangaroo was going to be the logo. So I'm like, now's the time, I guess, you know? So I knew the kangaroo and I knew media. And then I'm like, how do I tie this together to be like all encompassing? And I was like, wait, like everything fits in a kangaroo pouch, you know, like the Joey goes in the pouch, like the Joey goes everywhere in the pouch. Like the pouch is just always on the go. Yeah. And so I was like, media pouch. And then I had this like, I had the kangaroo and I had media pouch now, but I was like, it's just doesn't look right still. I'm like, it's missing something. And I was thinking about how I explained it to my buddy who's a graphic designer. I was like, dude, you remember that show Jimmy Neutron we used to like watch growing up? Do you remember this?
I vaguely kind of, yeah.
Well, like in the intro, like there's like all these neurons flying around like the Jimmy Neutron logo. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want those. I want like these neurons flying around like the kangaroo. Yeah. And so yeah, then he made that happen. So that's where like the lines and the dots, they're
right.
neurons flying around. And then fast forward, now I think it's really funny that like Apple's Genius Bar has like the same
Yeah.
same kind of look to it.
Yeah.
But it's helped because that's what catches people's eye is
Mm-hmm.
that those actual neurons there, because they're already like associating it. They've already seen it. They just don't know where
Yeah.
they've seen it.
Yeah.
So it's really been a good branding play.
Well done on that. Speaking of branding, do you have any branding help, or did you just do it all yourself?
Just did it all myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. My
Website too, or
the initial one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything from the initial launch like doesn't even look the same now because I just did it all on my own. But
Right.
like the original logo was like a light blue and gray and then some orange. But my buddy Nick, he was the one who helped me like get it from like I didn't know how to get the neurons to go around the kangaroo.
Yeah.
So he helped me with all that stuff. And then really like the logo and stuff hasn't changed much other than the font, but the website, like, yeah, my buddy David Riggs at Numa, they do all that stuff and all the blogs for us and stuff now.
Nice. Okay, so let's see, Media Pouch then. So Amazon to Media Pouch. So what was leaving Amazon like?
You're like now conditioned at that point. Like you've got a paycheck coming every 2 weeks. Like, you know what you're making, like, you know how to budget. And it was like, well, how the fuck do I like that was the scariest thing, was like not having financial security. It's still one of my scariest things. Like, you know, like we're obviously doing well, but it's like, I don't know, like I think any entrepreneur thinks about these things, like, you know, like payroll and all that stuff. Like you're going to get it done, but like in the thought of your head, like it's always financial security. Like you want to make sure you've got your payments all taken care of for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
But it was like scary in that sense, but I was excited because I knew when I was leaving, and basically, you know, I gave myself a month and I booked that one-way ticket to Sydney. Like, but I had bought that ticket like back in like, you know, March or April before I had even left, because I knew I was like, I've got to have, like, I know this is my last day, but I'm like, I've got to do this like one-way flight to really, really make sure that it's cemented.
Yeah.
So I was excited about that. And then, you know, basically a lot of people at Amazon were just like, what? And because like they just didn't know that side, right? Like
Yeah.
I was very much so, I kept that very close to like my chest at Amazon. I was like, I didn't want anybody to know what I was working on, like what I was really up to, because, you know, corporate's just different. Like you let those kind of things out, then it's like, oh, well, you're distracted, or like you're not bought in, or like you're all these things that they could have pegged against me. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not even going to take the risk. And so when people started asking me like towards the end, they're like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, I started a media production company and I'm moving to Australia. And they're
like,
they're
what
just
the
like,
hell?
wait, this is our finance guy? Like, and I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And
Why did you choose Sydney again?
I was just like always obsessed with Australia. Like I really, really think that like it came from like watching Wild Thornberrys. Like whenever I was a kid, I think that's what put the idea in my head. And then I remember in like 5th or 6th grade, like there was this like it wasn't like a grade school program, but it was like this extracurricular thing that they had brought to attention. And like you and your parents could like go over to Australia for like, you know, like I think it was like a month or something like that with this organization. And like I remember dragging my parents to that meeting because I'm like, I really want to go. And I think the cost was like $10,000 a person, and my parents were just like, yeah, no. But that's where all the thoughts started happening, and like where I was just getting obsessed with it. And I had a buddy that moved over there, and he was like, well, why don't you just come over here? And I was just like, well, fuck yeah, I'm gonna come over here. I'm like, you beat me to my dream, so yeah, I'm gonna come over. And I spent a month over there, basically just backpacking the entire East Coast. Like flew into Sydney, and then like flew up north, and then we did like Great Barrier Reef, all that good stuff, and then flew back down to Sydney, and then I flew to Melbourne, and then got a like rental car and just drove the entire like is it Great Ocean Road? Something like that. And just like stayed in hostels along the way and just like surfed and just I was just there, like just doing me and just figuring it all out. And I loved every second of it. And so then, basically I started to try to like get a job with Amazon over there too. And really, yeah, I mean, that was another reality, was that I had interviewed for 8 jobs over in Australia with Amazon. And
so you left Amazon to start Media Pouch.
Yep.
But then when you got to Sydney, you're like,
no, this is before.
Oh, this is before.
This is I'm talking about like, yeah, I'm taking a step back here.
No,
you're good.
No.
I know I'm all over the place.
It's fine.
It's a wild story.
Yeah,
it's like up and down and crazy, but I think it was like an entire year I was interviewing for like 8 different positions with Amazon. And the fucked up thing was that like I had gotten this yes from them, but they couldn't actually do it because of like these, like the immigration laws over there. And they're like, oh, we have to like search for X amount of people over here first. And then like, if we think they're qualified over you, then like we have to go with an Australian citizen. And I'm just like, get it, but
yeah,
fuck you. I'm better.
Yeah.
And I remember like the last interview I went to over there was on my birthday in 2019. And I was basically like this Hail Mary that I was throwing. And I just took off from my regular job for like a week and a half. I flew over there to Sydney for 1, my birthday, but then 2, I was there to interview. And I like told these hiring managers, I'm like, hey, look, I know we've got our like virtual thing scheduled, but like just to show you how serious I am, I'm going to fly over. And like did these interviews in person over there. Still got the yes, but then ultimately got the no because of like these immigration laws. And I'm just like, I don't know what the competition looks like, but I can tell you that they didn't buy a $2,000 flight to come over here and interview with you for an hour just to show you how serious I am. Yeah. It's like, you can't replace that kind of work ethic or like drive.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, that's when I was really just like, yeah, fuck you guys. I'm going to do this all like on my own, but
funny what things motivate us.
I know. Well, I read that book, the Planning Your Next 5 Moves. My driver is madness. Part of madness is proving people wrong.
Yeah.
So I understand that about myself now. You know?
I had that same little bit because I left Oregon at 25. Left a corporate 9-to-5 job.
Yep.
After 2 years, got like 2 promotions in 2 years, and I had dropped out of college. So all my friends and family were like, "This is like incredible. You have this job."
You dropped out of college?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They're like, "You have this job. You have like you got promoted. Like I was literally the first person in the company that got put in Penske, and it's like a worldwide, very like it's actually a really good company to work for if that's what you want. If you want the corporate life, go work for them. First person in the whole company to get put into their management trainee program without a college degree. Yeah.
Nice.
So they were like, so that was kind of like my proving people wrong in that sense. But then when I decided to up and leave and come to Austin, I didn't have any support from like friends or family. Everybody thought I was nuts. They're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you're like sabotaging your life.
Yep.
All that stuff. And I'm like, and then I remember it like about a year and a half being in Austin, shit was hard. I'd gone back into the service industry. I had this really weird roommate that up and bounced and left me with like rent to pay. And
oh shit.
Yeah. He had been like, long story short, I had been giving him rent money each month because he's like, hey, I'll go drop it off at the place. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So he would drop off my check, but not drop off. He would make up some story to the property managers as to why he didn't have rent and he was going to get it to them. So this only happened for like 2 months until they were like, you can't, like, you need to pay.
Yep.
And I don't remember exactly what happened. I just remember having this weird feeling. And I went to the property manager and I was just like, hey, so what's going on? Blah, 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 this and that. And then they like tell me and I'm like, oh, well, that's not right.
Yeah.
And walk back in, go back to my apartment, walk back in and like all of his shit's gone. And I'm like, well, this sucks.
Yep.
So now I'm responsible for the
Entirely
$1,500 or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yep.
Anyway, it was at that point I was like, man, it's like a year and a half in. Do I go back?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, man, that means I have to put like my tail between my legs and
Yep.
go back home.
Yep.
I remember it's the one and only time I've ever asked my mom for money. I was like, can you please just send money? Like, I'm
Yep.
not coming home, but I got to get out of this.
Yep.
Because of that exact reason. I was like, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. Like,
Yep.
I can't go back home.
Yep.
Like, no,
Yep.
not happening.
Yep.
So mom sent money. Only $500. Thanks, mom. Like,
Hey,
it was something.
But that was the most valuable $500.
It was
ever.
very valuable. I came up with the other 1,000 and at least saved my. I wasn't homeless.
Yeah.
So and then managed to make it through that, and then yeah. So I had dropped out. I did so actually in between high school and college. I didn't go immediately, so I took a year off.
It's good.
Worked a
I
bunch
wish
of
I would have done that.
shitty odd jobs. Like it was just horrible. I was like, I should probably go to college. This was a very terrible year. Like I don't.
Oh,
want
so this was
life.
between high school and
High school,
college.
yeah.
Okay, got
I was
it.
like, I should probably go. So went to college, had a really good freshman year. Sophomore year, not so good. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. Like I was like, what am I doing here? Like I'm just
Yeah.
taking all these classes.
Yep.
I'd gotten through all the general classes, and I was like,
Yep.
what? I don't feel drawn to anything. So drop out. And then, so that was like 20, and then 21, 22, 23 was kind of like shitty years, service industry. Good thing that came out of it is I became a chef and learned how to cook really good. So that has come in handy over the
Yeah,
years.
I'll bet.
And then 23 is when I got the Penske job because a buddy of mine had graduated college, came back, got on at Penske. And I was like,
Gotcha.
hey, I need out of the restaurants. Is there anything?
Yep.
And he was like, I think I can get you in here. So did that for 2 years, and then I call it my quarter life crisis. I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm 25. Is this going to be the rest of my life
Yep.
with Penske? Like,
Yep.
I don't know if I can do this.
Mm-hmm. And what were you doing there?
Started out as a rental rep, so literally just like the front desk person, and then got put into the management trainee program, which then was essentially still the same position, but now I'm training I can start to get promoted into other things if I
Got
want,
it,
whether
got
it
it.
was, I ended up going into a rental rep. So they had a leasing side and a rental side, and the rental rep would be in charge of the businesses that didn't have leases on our trucks, but they rented a lot all the time.
Got it. Got it.
So I was managing like, I don't know, 80 or 90 of those accounts.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a real trip for me because truthfully, I wasn't like that responsible back then.
I believe it.
Like,
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have been in charge of those accounts. And then you hand me a company car and an expense account, and I'm like, wait, so I can just spend whatever on this card and you'll reimburse me?
Yeah.
Like, so I would like go to the driving range with some of my friends sometimes. I'd be like, oh, I took these guys out from this company, and
Yeah.
you know, we went.
Yep.
And did some, nobody ever asked. Penske like never asked. They're just like,
Wow.
as long as you don't exceed this amount each
Yep.
month, like nothing. There's like no questions asked.
Wow.
Really.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was crazy. And yeah, so, and it was also my first time where I had to answer to people, but like I didn't have to be in the office, and that was not good for me. That lack of structure was not very good.
Yep.
So I think that was also part of the, I don't know if this is for me life, because obviously I wasn't like treating it as it should. You know, I wasn't being responsible about it. My girlfriend at the time wanted to leave also.
And this is in Oregon.
Yeah. And so we were like, she was like, and I had a buddy down here, a high school buddy. So I was like, well, why don't we visit Austin? And she's like, okay, what if we visit Austin and Denver and just see what we like?
Yeah.
You know, came to Austin in January, and I was like, fuck, it's nice here. Like coming from Oregon where it's like rainy all the time. Like,
yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah. So we didn't even end up going to Denver. We visited Austin in January, then moved in April.
Nice. Oh, so you guys moved quick then.
Yeah, we just packed it up, and I was like,
Nice.
let's just go. If I don't like, it was kind of one of those things I knew if I didn't leave at that moment.
Yep.
Like I didn't, there wasn't this huge intense like, oh, this is where I need to go. This is going to be my life. I'm ready to like do something new. There was that, but I think there was more, I just got to get out of Oregon to see what I'm made of.
Yep.
Like I can't keep doing this here. I can't keep being in the same friendship bubble.
Yep.
Those guys are great, but
Yep.
I needed to see what else was out there. I'd never left home.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you feel like you had like your drive and motives and like the picture of yourself just looked way bigger than what was around you?
A little bit. I didn't really, truth be told, at that age, I still hadn't really had this vision of my life yet.
Got it.
Honestly, it was probably almost a little bit more fear-based than that. Like, I just don't want this to be my life.
Okay.
What I had there.
Yep. I see what you're saying.
You know?
Yep.
So it wasn't this like, oh, I can go become this. It was
Yep.
like, I just know I don't want to be this.
Got it.
So
Yep.
that was enough to at least get me out of there.
Yep. I feel you on that. Like,
Because it's the proof is in when I moved to Austin, it's not like I really all of a sudden, like, you really put your drive into Media Pouch once you got back from Croatia. Once I got to Austin, I was like, fuck, I still don't know what I want to do.
yeah.
Like, I just hop back into the service industry.
Yep.
Which was like very humbling coming from like a corporate job.
I'm sure.
You know, like,
Kudos
to
you.
Yeah, it was tough because I could have actually transferred with Penske. They had just moved in down here in Austin. Like, they were like brand new building and everything.
Yeah.
And the team in Oregon was like, you could I would actually have to take a step back. I would have had to have gone back to like the counter. And I was kind of like, it wasn't so bad that I like wouldn't have done it, but I was also at least knew enough to be like, well, I can't go do the same thing in another city.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of like leaving then?
Yep. It'd be the same exact thing.
Yeah. So incredibly humbling going back into the service industry for about a year. And then that's when I was like, you know, I was a high school athlete and fairly in good shape. And then that's when I saw Austin being a better environment for like personal training.
Yep.
So I was like, let's just do that. I know I don't want to be in the service industry anymore. I know I'm getting my own self back into shape and fitness seems like a cool thing. So let's just do that. So.
And is that what you did then? Because I don't know if I know.
Yeah. So I was a trainer
Logan
for essentially 10 years.
this,
Yeah. So 2000, I think 2006 or 2007, I moved down here. I turned 25 down here. So 2006, I moved down here. By 2007, I was basically I was training at Gold's Gym downtown. My last service industry gig was at the Driscoll. I was working in the cafe there, which really came in handy because they were like catty corner from each other. And I worked in the cafe, so I kind of had like morning regular hours. It was a great service industry job because I didn't have to work like late nights. It was like 7 to 3. I could work in the bar and the cafe, and
beautiful.
Had like benefits there and everything. I remember I had to get my second knee surgery, and I got it because I had benefits through the hotel. It was great. So right after I got that surgery, then I left the hotel and went full time at Gold's Gym for the most part.
Gotcha.
But I did double time it for about 6 months. So I'd go train at Gold's Gym at like 5 and 6 a.m. Then walk over there. And then after that, go back over and hit my night clients at Gold's Gym.
Oh, that's perfect.
It really was. Like, I was working long days, but I was like, man, at least this is the first time. Like, I really enjoy this. I don't mind putting in the long hours. I get to hang out at a gym and like work out afterwards.
That is like the first sign I tell people of like you're on to like finding your fuel and passion, is that like when you don't mind
putting in the hours.
Nope.
Yeah.
And it's just nothing.
And I didn't even have a car at that time, so I'd have to bus it in like from the east side to downtown at like 5 in the morning. I remember for a while I had a little scooter, and during the winter it'd be like 30 degrees and I was like freezing on this thing cruising in. It was like that scene in Dumb and Dumber where there's like freezing on the scooter. Granted, it would only be like 1 week of that, but it was horrible. It was so cold. I remember. It. So and then I left the Driscoll, basically went full time at Gold's Gym. Got really lucky in that our general manager, first of all, we didn't have a fitness manager there, so nobody was like in charge of the trainers. It was like a free for all. Like, nobody was looking at your numbers. Nobody was looking if you were like taking money under the table, from clients.
Just
nothing. I was like, man, this is great. Like, like I can kind of fudge my numbers, make sure they're happy. I can, like, cause you know, training at a box gym, you keep like 20% of your money, 30%. It's horrible. It's horrible.
That is bad. I didn't
So
realize that.
we only had a general manager that like kind of like checked in with us every now and then. So yeah, like half of my clients, I would run them through the Gold's Gym system, and then the other few, I would just be like, you can just pay me direct if you want.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So
I
until
don't
somebody
blame you.
finds out.
I would have done the same
Yeah.
thing.
And then our general manager got fired.
Oh shit! For what?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. There was some probably a PR nightmare with some sexual harassing and things like that. So then all of a sudden we had literally no managers. I think we had a front desk manager who she didn't give a shit what was going on. But our regional manager or district manager would he would come in like once a week.
Yeah.
Like just to like check in on things. So I'm like, damn, this is like kind of a good gig right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, I was like, that was my first taste of sort of like working for myself, because I didn't have to answer to anybody, even though it wasn't like a corporate gig.
Yep.
And then I made it about a year at Gold's and was like, I'm going independent. I'm like, I can totally poach all my clients. I just need to find a little gym to train out of. And I literally looked on Craigslist.
Yep.
Found a guy renting gym space. They had like 6 trainers in there. You'd pay $10 a session and you'd cap out at $600 a month. And I was like, damn, that means I keep like 80% of my money.
Yeah.
It was like flip-flopped of Gold's Gym. So that changed everything. Was that like switch over to that, and then running all my own clients there. And I had people who then wanted to start training with me because they were like, oh, I don't have to get a membership at Gold's. Like, cool, let's do it. And this is long before the boutique gym boom in Austin.
Yep.
So this was, let's see, 2007, 2008. I think 2009 is basically when I went into 2008. I think I was at that little gym for 2008 and 2009. And then I helped open Austin Simply Fit in 2010. And yeah, there was no Orange Theory, no Crush Fitness,
I was gonna
none
say,
of
like,
that. None of that
stuff's
existed.
like pretty recent, you know?
Yeah. So
What did you think about, I'm going to ask you this because I get asked it all the time, but like structure when you were starting out, like
I hated structure.
Well, but like going from at least having some in like, you know, a job working for someone, and it's like, okay, like I know I have to like get this number for Gold's, like I know I have to be at this job at, you know, 7 a.m. for the hotel to be a chef. Like, how did you find and create your own structure once you started doing your own thing?
Well, I think with training, luckily, I still had structure because I was answering to my clients. Like, if they booked a 5 a.m., I mean, that's what I had 5 and 6 a.m. clients. It's like, I got to get my ass up and be there.
Yep.
It just wasn't to a corporate type boss.
Yep.
So that sort of helped. I was burning it at both ends pretty heavily at that time too.
I believe it.
Like, truthfully, I don't know how I woke up at 4 or 5 a.m. sometimes to make it to some of those early clients.
But like outside of the clients, right? Like you've got the structure for the clients, but like, did you ever just have this thought where you're just like, what the fuck am I doing with my day? Like, what does my day look like when it's just you know, like, what am I supposed to be working on? Like, should I be working on this? Like, is this the right thing to be working on?
Man,
like,
I don't know if
like, did you ever have that like kind of reflection? Like
No, I was horrible at that age. Like, I didn't start really, because here's the other thing too. Most of my 20s, I lived paycheck to paycheck. When that need isn't met, financial need isn't met, like that's kind of all you're thinking about. When I got into independent training and those needs were met, like I wasn't paycheck to paycheck, I actually had extra cash now.
Yeah.
All of my bills are paid.
Yep.
You know, that didn't happen until I would say 28. You're 28 right now.
Yep.
So imagine only just right now you've gotten to a place where you feel somewhat financially secure. You're not making like a shit ton of money, but like you're like, wow, I actually have $1,000 extra in the bank.
Yep.
You know, that didn't happen until I was 28.
Yep.
And once that happened, then I unfortunately drifted into like, well, now I can like live the bachelor life in Austin and I have money to like go out and do things. Like that's where my mind shifted to. It wasn't, how can I grow my business better? How can I make more structure? How can
Got
I put systems in place? How can I expand this? How can I make it grow? How can, it evolve?
Yep.
I was just happy to
Yeah.
be making money.
Yep.
Like, truthfully.
I feel you.
Yeah. So that was like a couple years of that. And then it became, I think right before I bought into Austin Simply Fit and met my business partner at that time, after a couple years of doing the training at the independently, then I was sort of like, I need to do something with my money. I can't just keep like spending it. I need to make sure I have, again, probably a little more fear-based of like, I don't want to run out of money. I know what that was like.
Yeah.
So
they're good fear's a good driver,
I know,
though.
I know it was at that time. So yeah, I was just like, I got to figure out what to do with some of this extra cash that I have now. And luckily the Austin Simply Fit kind of like fell into my lap. My girlfriend at that time, her friend of a friend, boss, introduced me to my business partner at that time, who was essentially ended up leaving what was called Efficient Exercise. They were specializing in 30-minute workouts. He's like, I'm going to go do my own thing. Would you want to rent space from me if I just open up a gym?
Yeah.
And I was like, this was my best little white lie ever. I was like, well, I'm only paying $500 a month right now. So if you can match that, I'll leave. And I was paying $600. So
yeah.
he was like, yes, done. And I was like, cool. Like, let's do
Easy.
it. Yeah.
Now you get to pocket another 100. Fuck yeah.
So great.
I do the same shit.
Do it all the time. Yeah. So, and not only that, it was basically me and Mark in the gym for the first like year. I didn't have 6 other trainers in there like the old space.
Yeah.
And I got to kind of help set it up and design it a little bit.
Yep.
That first location was on the 2nd floor off of like 32nd and Lamar. There was like, one of the cryo places is over there now on the lower floor. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, we made it about a year there. And then Mark was like, I'm going to go rent this standalone building and move everything over there. I was like, well, if it's going to be like a standalone and better visual, like we should figure out a way to somehow merge. Like, I don't need to be my own entity anymore. I'm not like tied to it. I'm not attached to it.
Yep.
And so we figured out a way for him to sort of buy me out in a way where then my clients became Austin Simply Fit's clients.
Oh yeah.
I became minority owner.
Yep.
I kicked in a little more money when we opened up the second location. So I ended up with, I think my final tally was about like 20%. But man, we were struggling. It was like, we were never in the green. Like, I remember a couple times I had to just straight up like grab some cash and pay out of pocket to some of our trainers.
Yeah. Wow.
So when he offered to buy me out in 2013, I was like, yeah, like give me like 5% or 5 or 10% on top of essentially my loan that you had for. I was like, we can call it good. Because I looked at it like, what's my return on this investment going to be over the next 5 or 10 years if we're like barely breaking even right now? Or I can at least get my $50K back plus a little interest over the next 2 years, and who knows what I can do with that. Which in turn essentially gave me 2 years of freedom with Casey, who I had met. So she graduated grad school right when I sold Austin Simply Fit.
Gotcha.
So both of us were like, let's fucking party. She was like, got done with 6-8 years of school. I was like burnt out from training. I finally met somebody who was like, hey, like this is probably it. Like, we were going to festivals. We spent a month in Europe, traveled all over the place. We went to like Bonnaroo and Lollapalooza and Hangout Fest all in 1 year. Like, speaking of Molly, taking lots of drugs, staying up all night for like a week straight and like getting rowdy with it. She was ready for it because she had never had that. She just did school. And that was her thing. So she was like, I'm ready to like have some fun. And so we did for like 2 years, and then the money ran out, and I was like, I should probably get back to work. So, and then she was in that time, she had like licensing hours. She was like kind of finishing up, and, she actually knocked out all of her certification hours, which normally takes about 6 years. She got it done in like 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she was hustling.
She was doing a lot of volunteer stuff. She kind of found little gray area loopholes too, which fucking do it. You know, like I'm surprised more people in your industry don't do it.
It's about efficiency.
It is. Like, just get there,
Yep.
you know? So she did that. I jumped back into training with what was then FX Fit, which has since turned into Gym Studios. And they were the middleman for like luxury apartment complexes, their fitness centers, to supply classes and personal trainers.
Oh, interesting.
Great business model. It was killing it before the pandemic. Like, but then things shut down. And then, of course, because this is why I was killing it. He was able to get these apartment complexes to agree in the contract to allow trainers to train non-residents there. So now he could license out trainers, be like, hey, you can pay a $600 licensing fee and you can go train any client you want at any of these fitness centers in these apartments.
Wow.
Yeah.
Smart.
So we didn't have to run a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And like, you're just getting on both ends. The apartment complex is paying you to have trainers there and to have fitness classes. And he's getting money from the personal trainers to be able to go train in these places. It was incredible. And on the side, he was then starting to get into designing the fitness centers for the builders.
Yep.
Killing it. Wow. And then I was able to get in. So that's what took me into content creation, because I got back into training in 2016 with him. And I remember telling Sean, the owner, I was like, look, man, I just had 2 years off. I promise I'll bring you a lot of business. I'll bring in a lot of clients, but like, can you just leave me alone for a year? I don't want to show up to meetings. I don't want anybody on my ass. Yep. Like, just let me do my thing training.
Yep.
He's like, if you bring clients in, he's like, I don't care what you do.
Yep.
And like, I had literally like 10, 15 clients back on the schedule in like a week.
Yep.
And he was like, okay, cool. You're good.
Yep.
Like,
nice.
I won't bother you. Yep. Do whatever you want. So
did
that for a year. And then, we started to expand the company into, depending on what package the apartment complexes got, they might we would run an event for them like once a quarter, like, you know, whatever it might be, just some gathering or some, you know, poolside yoga or whatever. So I kind of became event coordinator for about a year. And then obviously I'm at these events. I'm like, well, I should probably take some pictures and some video and, you know, capture this stuff.
Yep.
And then that's when I was like, and then it coincided with a buddy of mine asking me to make a video for his jewelry company. So kind of all these things started to serendipitously happen, where I was like, should I maybe like get into this? Like I always loved photography as a kid.
Yep.
So then that's when I made the deal with Sean. I was like, look, let me start doing content creation for the company. I know you can't afford it. So figure out what you can maybe pay me for event coordinating and content creation. And then maybe we can just put some equity on the back end.
Yep.
So I ended up getting 3% of that company just with that. And it sucks because of course it like plummeted with pandemic.
Yep.
But he's kind of slowly building it back up. They didn't go under at least.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
They're coming out of it. But that's how that was kind of my path into content creation, was
interesting. Yeah.
Through Gym Studios.
Just very similar to mine, like just
naturally,
naturally, you know?
It just sort of organically happened. And then this place, you know, like my first year it was hard because we had also just moved back into our house, and talk about fear, which doesn't really drive me so much anymore. A lot of work done around that. But I had moved back into our house that we had just sold. We just went into massive debt renovating it. And I was like, I need a fucking camera. Like, I need a camera if I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
But I was stressing out because we already had debt. I was like, I need like a $5,000 camera. Like, what the hell? Like, my wife was just like, just buy it. She's like, we're $75K in debt. What's $80K? Like, what does it matter at that point?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all right, cool.
She's right.
She's like, if that's what you need.
Yep. Your monthly payment is not changing that much.
To get to do what you need to do, then just go get it. Because we were also going to Peru. I was like, well, I can't go to Peru with a bullshit camera. like Peru was my Croatia in a way.
Yeah.
I was like, I bought a drone.
Yep.
Bought the camera.
Yep.
Just got a shit ton of Peru footage.
Yep.
And then that's what sort of jumped me into it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we have pretty similar stories.
And it wasn't even necessarily that I was like, I thought I was going to come back and like all of a sudden be this like awesome, cool content creator. I
Yeah.
was more looking at like, well, this is an opportunity for me to learn
Yep.
in a very beautiful place.
Yep.
And at least I'll
Ooh.
have some good footage and some good photos that I can then use as portfolio pieces or
Yep.
what I can show people.
Yep.
But man, that first year was a struggle because I don't know about you, but for me, maybe it's because I'm also a little older and I was jumping into a new career at like 37. That was kind of my leaving Amazon in a
Yep.
way of, well, I knew what I was making with personal training.
Yep.
I had some security and ownership with the company.
Yep.
But now I'm jumping into this career where, yeah, sure, I think I'm good, but being an artist and making money as an artist is two very different things. And so it was like, I had to get over some shit. It was scary for a while.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like Australia, because like I lived over there for 5 months. I ultimately wanted to be there and live my life there and stuff like that. But what that ultimately turned into for me was having 5 months to just learn, create, and build the portfolio.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally in the best place in the entire world to build the fucking most kick-ass portfolio. Like the most epic beaches, like all that stuff. And I agree with you. Like you've got to definitely have a strong portfolio to start off and at least grab people's attention.
Yeah.
Right.
I also got a little lucky in the sense that I had built a gigantic network through training.
Yep.
So at the very least, I had people that I could reach out to that I was like, hey, I can do this on the cheap for you.
Yep.
If you just like trust me a little bit and let me go with it and see what happens.
When I came back from Australia, that was probably the more scary part than actually leaving Amazon and moving to Australia. I was coming back because I was like, I have zero network. I have zero people to like.
That's tough.
What do you do?
Yeah.
And so like I just started signing up for like 3 to 5 networking events a day. I was going to coffee, breakfast, lunch, happy hour, dinners. Like it didn't matter. San Antonio, Austin, I was there. And then, like I'm just like fucking plugging away on Facebook too, just searching. I forget what I was like joining all these groups and like it was like Austin entrepreneurs, San Antonio entrepreneurs, startups, whatever. And I'm just like going in each group and I'm just like searching. I'm just like videographer, filmmaker, and I'm seeing like who is looking for help on these things. I'm just commenting all the time. And like that's how I just started getting the business off the ground like that. But yeah, it was scary. Like November, I made one sale in January of 2020 was my first sale. I basically came back November and December, no sales.
Yeah.
And then even until I think it was March when my next sale was. But I had like had this conversation with a guy and he was just like, well, like, why are you trying to like go after these big projects and just like pitch these big numbers? And like, he's like, you don't need that right now. Like, you're not at a point in your business where you need like this big numbered project. Like, you're not there yet. He's like, what you really need is just like MRR, which is monthly recurring revenue. Like, you need to find people who are going to consistently film with you every single month. And like, you can sign them on a 3 or 6, 9, 12 month contract. And when that got inside my brain, I was like, ooh, I'm like, I like that. I'm like, cause I like forecasting consistency.
Yeah.
So then I just started selling like monthly vlog episodes, and like, that's really like when Media Pouch started going. And then that's when COVID happened too. And so like now there was a really big need for it to be like at home or wherever producing monthly content. And that's what alleviated like a lot of my fear around like financials and like, just that whole thing with getting the company off the ground. I'm like, as long as there's MRR coming in the door, it doesn't matter.
Well, we'll do a part 2 of this sometime. I could easily chat with you.
I know, this is good stuff.
I know, it's nice. It's nice just to chat. But we talked for like an hour and a half.
Did we really?
Yeah, almost. It's almost 3.
Wow.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming over and doing this.
Dude, happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool to talk about the the drug part of it, because I've never.
I love talking about drugs.
Well,
Honestly, because I'm so I haven't done anything in so long. There's this nostalgia to it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, we had some. My wife and I even talk about it. So like, man, we had some really
Yeah.
fun times. Really good times.
I agree. Like, it's nostalgic for me too, and
Yeah.
it's like, if only. I think I've always just said in my head, like, if only people knew like where this really actually came from.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they. I think the perception around like drugs has changed a little bit, and like.
I think the perception has changed, and the usage of it is shifting for
Yep.
sure. But there's still this fine line of medicine and dependency.
Yep.
Like,
I agree.
Yep.
It's
real tricky because that line can get blurred real quick.
Yep.
Like, oh, well, I'm going on a medicine retreat. Well, yeah, but you're doing it like every other week. So how's that any different than just an addict?
Yeah.
Not saying you're an addict, but like that's a dependency then.
Yep. No, exactly.
So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, I had some of my greatest realizations on drugs for sure.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I definitely don't like weed. Don't do weed really, but like, I don't know.
God, I remember I used to smoke. My wife and I used to smoke a joint like every night together, and then we started more on a spiritual journey of like that understanding of consciousness in the universe a little bit.
Yep.
And then I remember after kind of like my first expansion and a little more awareness surrounding that, I tried to smoke and was like, oh no, like that's done.
Yeah.
Like far too paranoid now. Like that can't happen.
That's why I've never liked weed, because it makes me paranoid.
And I grew up in Oregon where it was like,
Yeah.
that's just what we did there. That was like part of our lifestyle. Like,
really?
all the time. Oh yeah. It's like, I mean, I have friends that grow there still and
Wow.
run businesses, and I actually have some interest in a business there, but yeah, my days of, and now it's like with a child and a second one on the way, I'm like, that just ain't gonna happen.
Yep.
Like I can't wake up at like, that kid's ready to go at 6 a.m.
Yep.
So
Yep.
anyway, let's do another one sometime.
Yeah, dude, I'm down.
I'll
see you tomorrow.
Oh yeah, you will see.
And the
I'm gonna
next
see you
in the next 3 days.
I know. I'm gonna spend a lot of time with you.
we
this
just
week.
wanted Ryan and Logan time.
Yeah,
this week.
yeah.